We all play games. Why don't we play together?
Although the famous date of the 9th of the 9th, 1999 seems to be the most memorable release date for probably any console ever, the Sega Dreamcast for me in the UK launched on the 14th of October 1999, over a month after the US launch date and nearly a year after the Japanese launch date, which, if you think about it, is pretty crazy. But regardless, I've stated a number of times on this channel that when the Dreamcast launched in the UK, I was currently working at Electronics Boutique, but the day the Dreamcast was launching was that one day where I was in college studying IT at the time. But being the gamer that I am, nothing was going to stop me from working on the day that the Dreamcast launched, and I took the day off college to work in Electronics Boutique and don't regret a single moment of it. It's quite funny. My job interview for Electronics Boutique went a little like this. The interviewer was a man I had seen a number of times working in Game, another high street retail store, but he'd clearly changed his job and started working in Electronics Boutique. He took me out the back, and as I told him I was interested in the job advertised on a window, and the first question he asked me was, so what do you know about games? Well, my mind went blank, and the only answer that dribbled out of my lips was, I really like the Sega Saturn. I honestly don't remember much of the interview after that, but it was a short interview, and somehow I got the job. That was the power of Sega back then. Simply speak their name, and you would get hired. The Sega Dreamcast for me is one of those tragic stories in this industry that shouldn't have happened for many reasons. But we all know the many reasons why things turned out the way they did. But this is not what this video is about. This video is all about celebrating one of the most underappreciated, one of the most unique, and one of the most, for me, industry-changing gaming consoles ever made, and one that sits firmly in my top 5 consoles ever made. This will be quite a personal video, about my love for Sega's last gaming console and its wealth of software that still to this day continues to stand out and in some ways affect the games we play. Being a Sega fan that I am, or was, it's certainly hard to be a fan these days for the most part. I came rolling off the once again underappreciated but utterly sensational Sega Saturn, so it was a natural thing for me to grab the world's first 128-bit console, the most powerful console on the market at that time, and simply melt away into all that Sega uniqueness that the company did, and in many ways still holds unique above anyone else. When I started seeing footage of the Dreamcast titles, it was hard not to be impressed, but for some titles, being impressed on a graphical level went to the realms of, I honestly didn't believe games could or would ever look this good, especially in regards to first seeing demos of Soul Calibur and the trailer for Shenmue, videos demoed on my store's TVs, but we'll touch upon those games briefly a little later. Let me talk about the launch titles for the Dreamcast and which ones intrigued me, even if they weren't essentially great games. At launch, I naturally bought what was considered the true launch title, and that was, of course, Sonic Adventure. Sonic's first true solo 3D outing, something that was sorely missed on the Sega Saturn. Sonic Adventure impressed me so much graphically that even the FMV, I still say that all the time, but even the FMV, which means full motion video, by the way, even that blew my mind. It just looks so crisp and fast, unlike anything I'd seen before on consoles. It's always the small things, that get me. But Sonic Adventure was a must-play, regardless of its annoyances, and the time I spent with it, it was mostly fun. This was where I first started using the Dreamcast VMU, its visual memory unit, or it's basically its memory card, and that had a little LCD screen on it. In Sonic Adventure, there were creatures called chows, and if you raised them in a little garden in the game, you could also port them to the VMU and look after them like a little Tamagotchi. A little novelty, but one that left cool impressions from a new home console that in a way went beyond the TV. Nice and unique, just how I like things. Other day one launch titles I bought were Blue Stinger, which I actually don't own anymore because I traded that in not long after I got it. Sega Rally 2, Toy Commander, and Virtua Fighter 3 TV. Blue Stinger was very much a Resident Evil clone, but unfortunately not a very good one. But still, when you get a shiny new console, it's hard still not to be impressed by its graphics. One of the reasons why I decided to try Blue Stinger, which had a ton of voice acting in it as well, something we were getting used to more and more. Sega Rally 2 was another easy buy after playing the game to death in the arcades. And unfortunately, the Dreamcast version of Sega Rally 2 wasn't quite as arcade perfect as I would have liked. Something that impacted the game a little, I feel. Still, Sega Rally has the best game over screen ever.
Game over, yeah!
Then we have Toy Commander, a game I enjoyed very much, and it felt great flying around a living room, a kitchen, etc., doing certain missions, just like you were a kid using your imagination with your toys. I found it to be quite a fun game. And finally, we have Virtua Fighter 3 TV. Virtua Fighter 2 on the Sega Saturn I still consider to be one of the best fighters ever, and I preferred it over Tekken 2 and Tekken 3 at the time. Virtua Fighter 3, although I personally feel to be not as good, but I know plenty of people who would argue against that, which is fine. It wasn't quite arcade perfect again on the Dreamcast, but still, a damn solid fighter that I put many hours into. So those were my day one games. But not long after, and still part of the launch day or launch window, I started getting more games, and the Dreamcast was quickly becoming a serious console for great software that shone above many other games on the market, whether they were multi-platform games or Dreamcast exclusives. And all the money I earned in electronics boutique was quickly being spent in an era of gaming that I personally still consider to be the golden age of gaming, where I owned a PlayStation 1, a Sega Saturn, a Nintendo 64, Sega Dreamcast, and my PC. Honestly, gaming life back then was just so good. I'll just quickly talk about some of my favorite games in my collection, which I want to show you, and any stories that might revolve around them. So let's kick back. Let me show off some of my collection. A collection that was probably 98% acquired during the Dreamcast life, and maybe 1 or 2 years after its fateful and tragic demise in as early as 2001. The console only lasted like 2 years. It's just crazy how much software came out of this console in 2 years. And let's remember one of the best consoles ever. A console that was Sega at its gaming heights, and what glorious heights they were indeed, people. So here we are. As you can see, these are the fighting games I have for my console. The Dreamcast had a wealth of fighting games. I mean, it's probably the strongest genre that it had. And this Street Fighter Alpha 3 is the best Street Fighter ever. Don't even argue with me. This game has a history between me and a close group of friends. It brought rise to an elite group of fighters who remained untouchable at the game. We used to leave it on the demo pod in our game store and challenge any fool who dared pick up the controller. Epic battles ensued, and tales of conquest and woe still get retold today. Bring back your awesome 2D pixel fighters, Capcom, please. This game and its content puts Street Fighter V to utter shame. I think a lot of people overlooked this title, Street Fighter 3, mostly because the main cast was mostly new. But man, played this loads in the arcade, and then it got onto the Dreamcast and got stunning animation still to this day. And then you got Power Stone. Do you remember this, Capcom? I do. One of the best fighters ever, people. Honestly, me and my friends, we played some seriously good multiplayer matches on this game. Absolutely loved it. And then you got Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Still the best in the series. In my opinion. I have no idea how Capcom could go backwards with the other games. Also, I still prefer the great 2D sprites than the 3D models that we have today. Moving on, we have Dead or Alive 2. Personally, I thought this game was better than Virtua Fighter 3, and it looked absolutely stunning on the Dreamcast. I mean, we were coming to an era where games were just looking absolutely amazing, great character models, but really, really solid fighter. And I know you're all thinking, yeah, there was a lot of jigglies. We all like the jigglies. Jigglies are good, but it was a good fighter. So yeah, good stuff. Ready to rumble boxing. This was almost like a poster child, for the Dreamcast. Amazing game. I love this game. Afro Thunder was my boy, and I absolutely played this game to death. Some great facial animations in this game. But yeah, definitely worth a play on the Dreamcast. And if you have a console, you got to own this game. Got the sequel. Wasn't quite as good. I think a lot of people actually preferred it, but I think I probably just played the original one so much that by the time I got to this one, I was pretty done with it. But anyway, good game as well. Moving on, some other random games here, but first game, MSR. The original Project Gotham. I love this game. Great arcadey feels, and the music was sung by TJ Davis, who also sung on Sonic R. I loved that music back then. I don't care what anyone says. Sonic R was awesome. But yeah, MSR, great racing game. Hydro Thunder. Oh man, what a great arcade racer this was. Crazy massive jumps off dams and everything like this. But yeah, I really like this game. Runs smooth as silk on the Dreamcast. Great game. So yeah, definitely worth a play. Then we got Space Channel 5. Ooh La La, remember her? Original character, great rhythm games. Oh god, Sega, man, they need to give their IPs to someone else because they're just holding on to some really, really great IPs. And I loved Space Channel 5. Shoot, shoot, shoot! And finally, Ikaruga. I can proudly say that I completed this game. Treasure at the top of their game again. Damn, what a... Probably, it's probably one of the best shooters ever made. You got Radiant Silvergun from Treasure as well, but Ikaruga is just absolutely incredible, and the soundtrack is awesome. But these games overall, all really, really good games, and definitely worth playing on the Sega Dreamcast. We're rolling on now, people, rolling on. So what we got? Resident Evil Code Veronica. Yeah, first Resident Evil in full 3D. Looked incredible on the Dreamcast, played really well. I completed it. I loved this game. Underappreciated Resident Evil. Play it, play it, play it. Shadow Man, another really good 3D shooter platformer. Great music. Wasn't perfect, but it was a good game. Echo the Dolphin, I have a soft spot for. I've played all the Echo the Dolphins games. The music in this game is absolutely incredible. Get on YouTube and listen to it. Game itself controls a little bit niggly, but overall a beautiful, beautiful game. And finally, Rayman 2. I personally consider it to be one of the best 3D platformers of that era. I ranked it up there, with Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, all those games. Not as good as them, but still a really solid 3D platformer. Ubisoft creating a great game. But yeah, overall, all these games, awesome sauce, man, and you should definitely play them all on the Dreamcast, especially Rayman 2, which is a great conversion. Already owned it on the N64, but I had to get on the Dreamcast again because I enjoyed the game so much. Then we have Sonic Adventure 2 and Seaman. Now, Sonic Adventure 2, I don't understand the hype around it. I played it, I completed it. I don't know why, because I thought it really wasn't that great. I think it's one of the most overrated Sonic games, but most Sonic games are overrated by Sonic fans for some reason. But this game, I thought it was absolute junk. And Seaman, I tried and I tried, but I couldn't get into this game. I'm not gonna hate it. I know a good friend who loved this game. He brought it into the store where we used to work to look after his Seaman during the work day to make sure it was all right. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it. Sonic Adventure, trash. Like I said, I don't get it. But Seaman, fine. I just don't get it. But anyway, I got him. I bought him. I tried him. That was it. Alright, we're getting serious now, people. Grandia 2 on the Dreamcast is one of the best JRPGs ever made. Just don't even argue with me. This game probably has one of the best plot twists I've ever experienced in a video game. it just blew my mind at the time, gave me goosebumps. And if you've played this game, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it was an absolutely incredible moment and something I haven't really read or heard of before in the type of fantasy game. It was really that mind-blowing. I absolutely loved it. The battle system in this game is just absolutely incredible. It's just, this real-time turn-based battle system where if you use the ATB bar well enough, you can counter the enemy's attacks, and it just flows so well. Some incredible looking special moves that you can use. But like I said, the story in this game is incredible. Graphically, I loved it. It had a great anime look to it. Some cheesy voice acting, but that stuff don't bother me at all. This game was great. One of my favorite characters in there was Marek. He was a big beast man, and story-wise as well, something happens, and once again, it's just such a great game, and it is simply just a must-own on a Sega Dreamcast. Probably expensive today, but that was my original copy. No way I was selling it. Awesome game. Then we have Skies of Arcadia. It's up there with Grandia 2 in terms of Sega exclusive, Sega created JRPG, Sky Pirates, great characters, great music. I always got Panzer Dragoon vibes from it. I tried to dig into the history of this game. I was convinced that people or someone from the Panzer Dragoon game worked on this game because it just had so many little Panzer Dragoon touches in there. But Skies of Arcadia is legendary for the reason. I love this game. I always wanted to buy the Japanese collector's edition with the bandana and stuff, but I never got around to doing it. Kind of regret it, but doesn't matter now. Another great game that also made use of the Dreamcast VMU, that allowed you to have this little character and you could find treasure from around the world. But I love that about the Dreamcast. The VMU was there. You could look at it as just a memory card, but quite a few games used it, even if it was just for simple stuff like having fighting controls on a VMU's little screen. A bit like the Wii U, an early Wii U, and Sega were great like that. In some ways, they were so similar to Nintendo, just trying to create some unique ways for you to play with your gaming console, outside of the software itself as well. But yeah, Skies of Arcadia. And then you got Jet Set Radio, a game I mentioned not long ago in a video I done about licensed music in games. But talking about the Panzer Dragoon team, when they were disbanded, some of those members came to create Jet Set Radio. They wanted to do something completely different, but I need to do a separate video on Jet Set Radio. It deserves its own video. There's so much to talk about in this game, but absolutely amazing game. I absolutely loved it. So original. Started off the cell shading vibe. It changed the industry in so many ways. I think people don't realize. But anyway, Jet Set Radio is a must. I love this game. Played it to death. Talk about it another time. Yeah. And finally, we got Rez. You know my feelings on this game. One of the best games ever made. Still in my top 10 games. Absolutely love it. I've done a video on it. Watch my video on it. Rez. Awesome sauce. And then we jump onto Samba de Amigo. Yes, I got a copy. Bought it after the Dreamcast had died. Probably about 2 years after the Dreamcast died. Paid a hefty price for it then. I think it was about 90 quid I paid for it then. But I don't just buy things just for them to sit there. I took that game out. I played Samba de Amigo in my bedroom with those maracas, and it took a little bit of adjusting with the hype bar that it's got and everything. But it's a great party game. I know they released this on the Wii, but without the maracas, it just wasn't quite the same. But yeah, as you can see, I got the original big PAL box version here. Not quite sure how much it goes for on eBay, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sell it. It's part of my Dreamcast collection, and I absolutely did enjoy this game. So yeah, Samba de Amigo, stroke. Nice. I shall keep this forever, my precious. And now we get to these two. Are they masterpieces? Yeah, I'm going to say it. They're masterpieces. Shenmue 1 and 2. I mean, I done a video not long ago talking about Yu Suzuki and the whole Sony thing and Shenmue 3 and all that stuff. It's because these games meant and still mean so much to me, and they encapsulate everything that the Dreamcast was and also wanted to be. You know, like I said, this was peak AAA gaming, all money pushed out. One of the reasons as well that Sega went bankrupt. This game cost an absolute fortune for this time. I think it's still one of the most expensive games ever made for this era. But Shenmue 1 and 2, they were just incredible games. Graphically, it's so hard to explain how graphically amazing these games were at the time. There's literally nothing else like it. But I got so many memories of this game, of these games, I should say. You know, Shenmue, I say games, I just class it as one saga because it's what they are. But you know, man, longest gaming session I ever had, as I said before, from 9 in the morning to 9 the next morning. Just, you know, I came close to death. But these games are just arguably the best games on the Dreamcast. You know, it's fine. Just say it. They're arguably the best games on the Dreamcast, and all I can do is applaud the absolute stellar effort that went into creating some of the biggest and most ambitious games ever made. And more on Shenmue from me will come in the future. That is guaranteed. And the last game I'm going to talk about is Phantasy Star Online. I'm going to do separate videos on this game because we have to remember, and we mustn't forget, how important this game was for online gaming on consoles for the first time. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Phantasy Star Online is nothing short of absolute magic. Incredible game, incredible series, and more on this game in the future, people. So yeah, that's it, people. A lot longer than I thought it might be. A quick discussion and reminisce about the Sega Dreamcast. You know, just a quick look at my collection as well, and you know, a brief rundown of my history with it. You know, like I said, you know, even though by then the N64 for me reigned as the supreme king. And you know, it's also, you know, up to you which generation you place the Dreamcast in, because its life was so short. It kind of breached the gaps between the 5th and 6th generation of consoles. You know, there is no denying how the Dreamcast affected the industry and also affected me as a gamer through those generations. As my channel grows in content, I'll be taking much closer looks at many of the games as well as the Dreamcast console itself. But you know, I couldn't ignore, you know, this console's anniversary for me. You might think that celebrating its 20th anniversary might be a better date, you know, but I shrug my shoulders to that. You know, I could suddenly implode for some random reason, or you know, something, and I would never have talked about the Dreamcast on my channel. You know, but anyway, you know, merry birthday, Sega Dreamcast. You were and always will be a sensational console. You know, that will always make me wonder what Sega would have created with the Dreamcast 2. As always, you know, thanks for listening all, and you know, please feel free to leave your own Dreamcast memories below. Peace.